Hello again and welcome back, I'm Drenalta and this is Strider for the PlayStation 4. This is a reboot of one of my favourite series of the same name. It started off as a comic book, then was turned into an arcade game and eventually made its way to home consoles, either Genesis/Mega Drive version, depending on where you're from. And it was just brilliant, and I bought this a while ago. I bought this back in 2014 when it first came out. And I've wanted to do a video of it for ages and just never got round to it. I kept forgetting about it, so here we are. This wasn't developed by Capcom. It was produced by Capcom and developed by a company called Double Helix. This is, I can't remember what installment this is now. There's been a few. It got confusing, especially if you're from the UK, because we had Strider on the Mega Drive, Strider 2 on the Mega Drive, which was abysmal, just killed it, and then PlayStation Strider came out, which was also called Strider 2. So we had two Strider 2s. It had a different name in America, the second one, and then Strider 2 came out. But when Strider 2 came out over here, they didn't bother to change the name, even though we already had a Strider. It got very messy. I've never played the PlayStation Strider 2. I've heard very good things about it, and based on how much fun I've had with this one, I'll probably go back and get that now. Might even do a separate video because it looks good. This was also released for PC, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS3, and this version we play now, PS4. There is not a great deal between the consoles whatsoever. Last gen ran at 30 frames per second, 720p, whereas the next gens and the PC ones obviously run at native 1080p and 60 frames per second. Other than that, you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between them. They're very, 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 very similar. So for those of you who are unaware of the series at all, they're basically just action platformers where you play as a ninja, my second favourite ninja of all time, the first being Shinobi. And there's not much more to say about it really on the surface, so let's jump in. And here you've got your fairly limited main menu. It states single player game even though there is no multiplayer game, which I find odd, but whatevs. Leaderboards are bullshit. There is no point in the leaderboards, not the online leaderboards anyway, because people for some reason have hacked them. So they've just put it with their screen name and 0000 and all the times for completion of like the game and the challenge modes. Why? That properly baffles me. Why would you put your name next to something that's clearly cheated? That's like showing that you're crap at the game. Do you need to be acknowledged so much that you don't care if people only acknowledge you for being shit at something? Or for not achieving something? That's like walking into a gun range going, hey, everybody, look at me! And then shooting yourself in the face. I don't understand, but fuck them. There's help and options, which is, yeah, just how to play, control setup, settings, credit, nothing you need to mess around with. And extras, which is just things you unlock during playing the game. You get little collectibles throughout the game that unlock concept art, character intel, story intel. If you give a crap about the lore, not that there is a great deal. The story in this game is there, and that's all I'm saying. Well, it does what it needs to do. It's an old school platformer game. The story pushes things along, nothing more, nothing less, as is the case with most of these games. You've got your challenge modes that I was talking about. So you've got Beacon Run, which is just get to the checkpoints in time, finish as quickly as you can. And then there's survival mode, which it just throws waves after waves of enemies at you, and you have to survive. That simple. Neither of them are very difficult. Like, they give you a limited amount of things and very specific criteria with which to achieve your goals, but they're not hard. I've done 4 of them now, and I've managed to get S rank every time, first time. And I'm not particularly good at these kind of games. That's not me bragging. That's they're just too easy, which is strange because challenge modes, you know, name suggests they're challenging. So I don't know where a lot of the fun lies in them, apart from the leaderboards. Obviously, like I said, the online leaderboards are bullshit, no point using those or trying to get on those. But if you've got friends that have this or friends that you can make buy this, there is quite a lot of fun to be had in just one-upping their score, shaving a few seconds off, because it tells them when you have. So it's nice to just be able to post a metaphorical middle finger onto your friend's game, and then they'll go, oh, I'm not having that, and it's competition, but that's it. There's not a lot of replay value there, but it's all right. We'll go to new game because I've already played it through once. It took me about 6 hours 40 minutes, and without using any online sort of help, I managed to get all the collectibles and things. Apart from the unlock art, that kind of thing. So I completed 68% of the full game. You can't have multiple save files on this, so when your game's over, you've finished, start again. Which is a little bit, yeah, it's fine. Which is a little bit annoying, normal's good, because there are certain things you'd think that you'd unlock during the game that it'd let you keep. Like, I unlocked a bunch of costumes, and then at the end of the game it just went, right, restart, and all the costumes were lost. If you start a new game, you have to start collecting everything all over again, which I understand with things like these things called ciphers that you unlock, which can be used as keys, because that would break the game. You'd be able to get everywhere from the get-go. But you lose, like, your health upgrades, your energy bar upgrades, and stuff that it didn't really need to take off you. You know, they could have just added an extra difficulty mode and let you keep it. But whatever, this is how the game starts. It starts a lot like the original arcade if you played that, and it plays a lot like the original arcade. Strider can slash as fast as you can press the button, and it is razor sharp. Like the timing in this game, there is no delay in the inputs. It is very, very, very polished. Slide. As you can see, it's a fairly nice looking game. Like I say, it doesn't push the system. It doesn't do anything that, you know, is outstanding, but it doesn't skip a beat either. It's really, 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 really on the ball. There is no I didn't find much, if any, lag. I know a few people said they had lag during the initial release, but I haven't had any problems with it at all, so I assume they've sorted that out. There's the first ability you find, the ability to slide. You could slide before, but now you can slide damage, so you can kick things out like this. There are some puzzle elements to this game and exploration. There's not a lot. There's a little bit of exploration to find the things, but it's nothing too complicated. The maps aren't huge. Like I said, I managed to find just about everything on my own on the first playthrough without ever having to Google it, so there was nothing that was ridiculously well hidden. Levels aren't linear either, which is nice, which, like I say, gives you that die, you bastards! It gives you that level of exploration that I was talking about, which you didn't have in the original games. This is fairly new for this. Yeah, a lot of people use the word Metroidvania to describe this game. I wouldn't. To be fair, a lot of people use the word Metroidvania to describe any platform that's come out in the last decade, and a lot of the time it's incorrectly used. You know, people seem to use it just so they sound like they know what they're talking about when it comes to these kind of games. It has a little bit of Metroid about it in the sense of exploration and upgrade, not so much the Vania. But apart from that, it's more like a Strider game, which is easy to make a comparison to because it's a Strider game. You can pass through floors old school style by pressing down and X. Yep. You can climb on virtually any surface, which makes it, like, exploration and navigation a lot easier and a lot more, well, you're a ninja. It makes you feel a lot more like a ninja, and it all works really well. It's fluid. It's not janky at all. It's a very, 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 very polished experience. Oh, shit. See? You'll get a lot of doors like these. You can't open these till later on when you have the correct cipher. The correct cipher is a different... the blade you cipher, and you can imbue it with different abilities, so it'll go different colours. Basically, you'll have like ice and fire and simple stuff, and depending on which one you've got opens a door, sort of Mega Man-esque, because certain bosses you'll need them to defeat as well, so you have to get them in the right order, which the game sort of makes you, so there's not a lot of thinking involved. That's one of your collectibles. That'll unlock something in the concept art's been unlocked, or in the style of the original power-ups from the original arcade game. Because of how well Strider moves, the levels are as big vertically as they are horizontally. So it's not like some of the old platforms where you just run left to right to win and go all over the bloody place. And here's your second ability. Now you can do a charge slash, and as it says, it's twice the range and twice the damage. Also useful for getting rid of characters. You'll notice there's a lot going on in the backgrounds. You don't get to pay a lot of attention to them. There's whole living little worlds going, you know, there's things happening, there's conveyor belts full of tanks because it's all industry. Everywhere is based in, like, Soviet Russia, or an alternate Soviet Russia, because this game was made in the late 80s and early 90s, and that's what everyone was scared of in the late 80s and early 90s. These guys, these ones, big swing, breaks the shield, and then you can chop the face off. So it's best to always keep it charged up if you can, because it's square to charge it up, so if you can keep your finger on square and press X competently, then always keep one in the barrel. Son of a bitch. Skills. And now you can open these. These little floaty green things, health, obviously. My health bar can only go as full as that second little line on the top there dictates. The more health upgrades you'll find and unlock, the shazbaz, the easier it gets. And now with a big swing, you're capable of stunning these fuckers. and doing a lot more damage. Yeah, the game escalates fairly quickly. That, when I originally played it, was the first time I died, because it goes from giving you one to fight, like a mini-boss, and then it's just, did you get that? Do you understand that? Good. Here's 3 of them. I've also just noticed Strider's scarf is tiny compared to when I was playing. So his scarf gets longer the more you play. I don't know if that's the more you unlock and the more powerful you get, the longer his scarf gets, or that gets bigger depending on playtime. I don't know. I've only just noticed that. I'll have to Google it. It took a little while for me to get used to the controls, because in 2D platforms I tend to prefer to use the D-pad, but because of all the different angles you can slash out with your cipher there, they've assigned it to the analog stick and only the analog stick. Yeah, so not being able to use the D-pad took a little bit of getting used to, but I understand why they did it, because this game uses almost every button on the control pad. If it's not the kind of game you can play for a little bit, go away and come back to and expect to still be as good at it, because you need to remember all the different combinations of things that you can do. So, you know, if you left this for a few weeks and came back to it, you'd have to go back to the start of the game, because you would just get destroyed. You would get torn to tiny little pieces of ninja. Yeah, so you get some of these proper old school epic boss fights in like the multiple stages where they mix up their attack patterns and whatnot. The only problem with old school boss fights is once you've learnt all the attack patterns, they can get, you know, a little bit too easy. Like, it takes away some of the replay value, but such is old school games, there's fuck all you can do about that. Oh god. Slide. No, 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 I was so close. You bastard. Death! Ooh. Oh, there's a dude in there. The music in this game is also worth note. It's one of the best things in here. You get from those, like, dancey boss tunes that upbeat, and some really, later on, some really bombastic boss tunes that get you in the mood to this. Obviously very Soviet-inspired, oppressive, just atmospheric music done really, really, really well. Like, whoever was in charge of the musical score fucking nailed it. Like, they hit the nail on the head so hard it came out the other side and killed a racist. It's just spot on. If you remember the antagonist from all the other games, it's the same antagonist, that sort of half-man, half-sword freak. He's back. Along with a plethora of other bosses. So you get different types of bosses as well from the... I don't just mean, like, visually. I mean, playstyles. There's the big ones, the big epic boss fights against the huge monsters and things. And then you get the boss fights against people that have got a certain level of skill, like yourself. Oh, he's a big un, isn't he? If you hit them enough times in a row, you go into this mode, which is like Rage. And you do just a fuck ton more damage, and everything slows down a little bit, apart from you. It's very cool. Hard to do, but if you can get him into his sort of enraged mode during a boss fight, it can be over very quickly. We've now got the down strike or ground pound, so we can do stuff like this. Hello, hello. Slash, 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 slash. I love how fast you can slash. Quicker you can click, quicker you can kill. Some of the enemy types can get a little bit repetitive, but it's not ever a huge problem, like such as old school games. Like, the rate they're introduced is fine. Some of them are just palette swaps, or more specifically skin swaps, of earlier enemies, but they do enough to change up their attack patterns and the weapons and abilities they have to still make them interesting. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Map, here's your map. So you have a map you can revert back to at any time, which marks where things of interest are. Like those little yellow arrows there, they're upgrades. Doesn't say what upgrade, but you know, they are things you need to collect to get better throughout the game. You don't need them to progress. They just make you more of a badass and help. And you can go to the overmap, world map, so you can see how many different areas there are to explore. That's the final one up there. There's I love the airship. Here's an example of one of your health upgrades. So 1 of 10. There are 10 hidden around all the stages in total, as you can probably guess. And by the time you get them all, the bar ends up being full to the top. Simples. The level design as well is also worth a mention. They never get too dull. They mix it up just at the point where they probably could. There we go. They're easy when you know how. So some of your later levels you'll have, like, gravity you'll get messed around with, or, you know, you have your sort of generic lava levels, but they're all done really well, so they just keep mixing it up enough to keep your attention. It never gets too repetitive. Here's another example of what I was talking about. Oh, here's a good example of what should... Okay, talking and playing this is going to be difficult. So you get your big-ass old-school bosses. We have to do it like in stages. And then you get... Oopsie-daisy. And then you get these ones, the faster, more agile ones. These ones react to what you do more. So they're a lot more skill-based. How are you still alive? There we go. Kicked her into petals. And there we get the first options. Options are like special moves. Or super moves. Or if you've played... Golden Axe, your magic, it's exactly the same. And now you can see an energy bar underneath the health bar. That's upgradable, same as a health bar, and that now means you can do stuff like this. Which is pretty cool, to help like clear the screen and stuff. There are different ones you unlock that have different abilities later on. You also get the ability to throw shurikens and things, and that uses a bit of your special meter. They also have other effects, like I can now use these teleportation pads, and depending on what animals you've unlocked or specials you've unlocked, you can travel to different places throughout the map quicker. It's not quite fast travel, but it damn well helps. And it looks pretty cool too. I've broke my ninja. If it's having some sort of seizure. Or it's quietly beatboxing, I can't tell. That little minimap in the top right hand corner is fantastically useful. It stops you getting lost a lot of the time, and it also stops you having to do that and look at the big map. So it doesn't break up the action, it keeps the flow of the game going, it doesn't lose momentum. Ooh, who are you? Why did they have to call them all poo? It just makes them funny. So now you've got to fight both the sisters. There are 3 of these sisters. Well, 4 of these sisters in total. You only ever have to fight 3 of them at once, I think is the most. Ooh, bird to your face. And death. It feels so good when you get it right. Oh, thank God for that. That's like one of the most useful things to get in the game. There are plenty of different abilities to get in this, and when you start chaining them all together, especially when you're in one of the skill-based boss fights like those, you do feel like a real ninja, and that's what it should do. It's a proper arcadey, fun, over-the-top action game. This game's only got like a few flaws. Some of them are mentioned. The worst one, the one I've not mentioned, is by far the most irritating, and warning, this is a little bit of a spoiler. The final boss has 2 forms. His first form is brilliant, like it's really fun to fight. His second form, not so much. Not so much. It seems unfinished. Like the game itself is really well polished and well done, but there's just something about it feels rushed. Like there are 2 huge dead zones that are found virtually straight away, where you just don't get hit, so you can just hide, which is. You shouldn't be able to do that. Not on a final boss. He's got all these huge attack patterns, and they make you use all the abilities that you've learnt so far, and then he mixes up his attack patterns, so you have to use them in different orders, and then he aggroes and he does everything twice as fast, so you have to do everything twice as fast yourself, which is exactly what the last boss should be. But then there are these huge areas that you can just hide, and he can't get you. So you can't get hit. You pop out a little bit, hit him when it's safe, and then run back to safety. I did him on the second go. The first go, I found out about the dead zones. On the second go, I must have got hit twice, which annoyed me a little bit, because I'd spent ages getting all the health upgrades and the energy upgrades, thinking he was going to be this huge, ridiculously tough badass, and he just wasn't. Like I said, I think I got hit twice on my second go in total, and I finished the final boss on my second go, which shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen in a game like this, especially a final boss form. You should be ridiculously difficult. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Another problem I've got with the final boss is maybe it's just me, maybe it's minor, because I haven't heard anyone else complain about it, but the orbs that surround the final boss, you can run around and they have their own gravitational pull, which is fine, and you will run in the direction in which you're pointing. Again, makes perfect sense, but the orbs rotate. So sometimes they're rotating you when you're trying to say, I don't know, run left, and you'll end up pointing in a direction which is now crouch or down, so you'll stop moving and you'll crouch. Which isn't a huge issue if you can see what your character's doing. Phew, that was close. If you can see what your character... Ooh, collectible. If you can see what your character's doing. But the camera is constantly zooming in and out to follow what the boss is doing in the background, to the extent that sometimes it'll make you just a few pixels big, so you can't see. You'll literally lose track of yourself. And you can take a few cheap hits, like, whilst it's doing that, which is the first and only time in the game I can think of which really feels like you go, oh, that wasn't really fair. Like, every other mistake you'll make in the game, you can shout bullshit at it all you want. It's down to you, because the controls are outstanding. Like, so any fuck-ups you make are your fault. And it's on you alone to just get better. That is the first and only time I can think where something's happened, or I've died or got hit and thought, well, that was bollocks. You know, there was nothing I could do about that. I didn't even know where the sodding hell my character was. It feels like they got to the final stage, made all the, you know, the attack patterns and everything, built the boss so it all looked good and everything worked fine. And got all that down and polished and looking good. And then someone went, so shall we pass this section off to testing? And someone else went, nah, probably be right. Why bother? I exploded. So apart from that couple of minor gripes, really, I've had a lot of fun with this game. And as such, it's been worth my time, and as such, it's been worth my money. So I have to recommend it. It's really good. It's fast. It's responsive. It's smooth. It's fun. It's everything it should be. All I'd like to see from it, really, I think, is a sequel, where maybe they make it a little bit longer, and you clear up a couple of those like little issues I had at the end, so, you know, refine it a little bit more. That's it. Apart from that, can't recommend it more. In fact, I liked this game so much when it first came out that I made a little video using the PlayStation 4's video editor. And that's what got me into editing videos. That's why I ended up having a YouTube channel at all, which I think I've still got knocking around somewhere. So I'll stick that on the end of the video if I can find it, just so you can see where it all began. And as usual, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.